So welcome to episode 11 of the End Product Podcast. Again, we're missing Tony, so we need a super sub to come in. Welcome into the End Product Podcast. We've got Gator Guy. Gator Guy, thanks a lot for joining us, my man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
No, absolute pleasure. And I'm really glad you could make it, especially at such last minute notice, because I'm trying to sort stuff out all week and it just hasn't happened. So hats off to you. And I'm looking forward to getting stuck into this. But Stishy boy, how have you been over the last week?
Well, busy. It's festival season. So in the other side of things I do outside of the podcast, I've been busy working on finishing some music and going through tracks. I'm up in Cheshire this weekend for Outlook Festival, so I'm off for the whole weekend, 3 nights. So yeah, excited, worried, scared, all of that.
Oh yeah. So are you going to that? Are you playing at it? Can I idea? Sorry.
Yeah. So I play Friday night and Sunday night. 2 very different kind of sets. Just wanted to make sure I had everything prepared because I know it's going to get crazy when I get up there.
Buzzing, man. That sounds like good fun. And that's in Cheshire.
Yeah, it's just outside. So they usually do it in Croatia. But, it's the first year they've done it in.
I've heard about the thing in Croatia. So is that? Yeah. I've heard about that. Like the famous, yeah.
It's been around for a few years now, so it should be a big one. Looking forward to it.
Man. Sounds well fun. So what sort of crowd are you going to get at that then?
A mixture, actually. You get quite a lot of people that fly in from abroad for it because it's like a quite specialised festival for like sort of left field bass music genres, electronica. Lineup's always pretty strong. You tend to get quite a crowd of people there that come out every year for it. And obviously with COVID, it's been sidelined for a bit. So I expect a lot of people would have planned ahead for this one, make a trip around it, do a little bit of sightseeing in the UK. So I'm expecting quite a lot of overseas folks, but a lot of people will be travelling from around the UK to it as well. I'm not sure what the capacity is of it, but they got camping there and everything. I think it's probably about 20,000-30,000 people. Be a reasonably big one.
Minted, man. Well, buzzing for you. I hope it goes well.
Yeah, me too.
Look forward to hearing about it, man, for sure. But I guess the big news for all of us in terms of like Sorare this week, yesterday, it feels like, is we've got Mbappe on as a serious investor in air quotes, as well as brand ambassador and all that. And I think it kind of, I was saying, I think on the stream for it, when the Mbappe Unique came out, the chat from everyone was the worst time in the world to sell an Mbappe. But maybe Mbappe, maybe he was going to invest some money, and then he's like, listen, I've got contract negotiations. I might be getting a lot more money soon. So let's hold off the now.
Well, you remember too, he did that, like the cryptic Instagram
yes, he did.
thing of the Unique. Was it like, did he like do like eye emojis or something? But it wasn't much else. I was like, okay, so we all freaked out. We're like, okay, at least Mbappe knows Sorare exists.
Yeah.
Little do we know.
Well remembered. I forgot about that.
I forgot about that as well. That is, you do have your photographic memory then.
I think it's a huge kind of thing, just, it is a vanity play, of course, because it's Mbappe. Sorry, some turbo engine just flew past me there. I don't know if you heard that.
F1 going in Glasgow there.
Did you hear that? Got no idea what that was, man. But I thought straight away that this is a huge, because it was on a Wednesday, right? Normally, big announcements, I guess, can come any day of the week, but it didn't. It was a big announcement, and it was great watching the video with Nick. I felt really good for Nick, to be honest with you. You can tell he's just a huge fanboy, and he's just sitting there with Mbappe, just like, we're going to do it. We're going to do it, brother, together kind of vibes, But, what was your kind of take on it all, guys? Gator?
Yeah, I mean, it can't possibly be bad, right? You get... I mean, I don't know the exact counts, but he has to be, top 5 most followed or most recognized footballers worldwide. Yeah. So, if he hitches his wagon to this, it's only going to be good. It has to help the Prem, right? I know that's everybody's, anything Nicholas tweets immediately, win Prem. And it's like, he just unloaded Ligoon Superstar, which obviously is huge with the company being in Paris as well. Yeah. So that's probably Nicholas's top billing, right? Is getting Mbappe on the board as an investor. But I mean, it just brings that much more legitimacy to the product.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it came unexpected. You always feel like you're being teased a little bit of information ahead of anything that's coming big. everyone will be talking about it in Discords and WhatsApp groups and stuff. And I feel like we hadn't had like a big announcement or a league onboarding or anything like that for a little while. And to see that, I think as much as it doesn't maybe affect the gameplay or is like a massive change or shift in any of the kind of features on the website, you can't help but get excited about the potential that's going to bring to the game. It's going to bring, more eyes on it. It creates like a much more professional look for the outsiders as well. It's like, well, if Mbappe's on it, then I should be on it. And, I expect that we'll get a lot of professional footballers signing up in the next few months. Be interesting to see who we're all getting offers from on our cards.
Yeah, because he did say he wants to play the game, eh? He did say, that little chat with Nicholas, he was talking about playing and stuff. So we might start seeing some bidding wars between Mbappe and Griezmann.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Grease offload?
Did he?
I think he sold out.
Interesting.
Don't hold me to that. Don't. I'll look while you guys talk.
Sure. Maybe he was taking a pay cut at Atletico Madrid or something.
Yeah, potentially. I think it'll be interesting to see how many like footballers on board. In terms of especially like their French credentials now, I think that's like that's as big as it gets, really, isn't it? They've already got some big footballers. They had the deal with the French national side. They've got quite a lot of the Ligue 1 sides signed up. Like Mbappe is literally like the figurehead. That's a big statement, I think, especially within French football. But there's not many players out there bigger than Mbappe, and like he's huge. So yeah, that was massive news. It came as such a surprise, but be interesting to see if he does get involved. Hopefully, he starts to eat up the supply of Mbappe's out there. If he can just go and buy them all, so we don't have to play against him in the U23, I'd love that.
I'm starting to get this kind of vibe off of Mbappe that he's going to be like Beckham on steroids. Like, see this deal that he's just crunched with PSG, and he basically like runs the club now. Gets to decide who's the sporting director and whatever. And then, because again, one of the things he was saying with Nicholas is he wants to like give back to like impoverished, and it's all about community and grassroots and all that kind of stuff as well, like that kind of community give back. So, like if that kind of philanthropy, if that's the word for it, that kind of presses on as well through him, through that. Then I think like my opinion of Mbappe is like kind of wildly changed over the last month of what kind of guy he is. I think he must be like a right wired, switched on guy, or he's got great people around him or whatever, because the deals that he's just locked in, if he is like right, because so rare now, again, both those guys reference, it's like seen in the business world as like a unicorn product, where it's like it's kicking ass and taking names in all fronts. And to be tied in with that, and then that deal at PSG is just wild. It's just crazy from top to bottom. The money involved and the power that comes along with it for a player who's not even he's U23.
Yeah, I was watching the Pogba documentary on Amazon the other day, and there's a lot of talk on that about his like desire and wants to become like a business mogul almost. Looking at how in America, like the basketball players are all like in businesses and have clothing lines and have sports drink brands and stuff like that. All these deals like flying around everywhere. And Pogba's team were saying, in America, that's expected of sports stars, whereas in Europe, we kind of frown upon sports stars doing something outside of like playing their sport or like excelling. Like in the UK, especially, like we'll notice it with like Marcus Rashford. As soon as he gets involved with any politics or does like, like a food bank drive or anything like that, he gets it. Oh, he should be concentrating on his football. His form's bad. And
yeah,
it'll be like Mbappe obviously has a similar team and a similar like drive around him in wanting to expand like his influence, if you like, into different territories. And I think it's smart, if you're a footballer and your career's done at like 34, 35, if you're lucky, like if you have a bad injury, could be done way before that. I think it's sensible for players that have this kind of money and these teams around them to start like putting their money and their influence in different pockets of interest. So I'm all for it, and I think hopefully this sets a tone for more more deals like it. Good to see sports people like having these interests spread out. And I'm sure it's like, it's almost like it's a fail safe for them, isn't it? If Mbappe gets like a horrific injury tomorrow, he's got stuff going on that he can continue. And I'm sure he'll be successful in whatever he kind of puts his hand to.
Yeah, totally.
As a follow-up on that too, like we definitely give crap to plenty of the players that sign like too many deals over in the States. Normally it's when they do it too early in their career. Like there was specifically a quarterback. Sorry, there's a kid in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear, but specifically there was a quarterback for one of the NFL teams that started signing all these deals after his rookie year, and he wasn't that good. And then he just literally sucked the next year. And everybody's like, oh, it's because he spent the entire offseason doing commercials. Yeah. So we see that. And follow up on Griezmann, no, he did not sell out. He did some sort of big deal, and now his name is different on the site. But so Mbappe and Griezmann, definitely, hopefully we'll see them competing for some crazy uniques on like young French league guys that all of a sudden we can go, oh, they like him?
Yeah.
I need his rare, I need his limited, and go from there.
Especially as well, do you remember that kind of viral thing Griezmann done where he's like to Mbappe, I bought you for Newcastle on Football Manager,
Yes.
Like, we might get one of those ones where, I made you captain last week and you let, next time they meet up for France or something. There might be some mad banter like that could be on the cards. That'd be fun. I think like the thing that most of the users actually got excited about this week in terms of platform progression was like the Academy and all these other kind of innovations that came out the day before Mbappe, wasn't it? Wasn't the same day, was it? The day before. Yourself, Stish, did you pick up this stuff and have you had a look through it yet? Any thoughts?
I was always like wondering, like there was a lot of talk in the kind of like the Sorare podcast community, if you like, about the progression bar. When's the progression bar coming? Blah blah blah. And I was a bit like, oh, I'm not sure the progression bar is that necessary. I'm not sure I see like the point of it. But now that the at the Academy League is there, we can see like how to play it. My brother is like an extremely casual player. I think he's got like a limited team. He's got maybe 4 or 5 rares that he can scrape some ETH with, but come August, he's still not got himself a goalkeeper yet. So players like that, and I'm sure a lot of us have friends that kind of like dip their toes in and then kind of lost interest after a few weeks, months. They will have the ability to go and potentially compete in that Academy League with like a couple of limiteds that they have that hopefully will boost up their scores and like get them towards winning those rares and limited cards if they fancied having a go at that rather than the casual league, which is extremely competitive. And I think even with the casual league, I think it's great that there's prizes added. It still does benefit the big players more because a lot of us who've been playing the game for a year or two have some pretty insane common cards that we can just throw into the casual league, whereas the new sign-ups might only have 2 or 3 players that are even have a fixture this week, especially like in the off season.
Yep.
So I think that the timing is important in the sense that this gives an opportunity, hopefully, to people to kind of like dip their toes in, still not have to buy a goalkeeper, but be able to compete for a couple of quid and have a go and get to grips with using the market, picking your teams, seeing how to do that. So yeah, I think now I've seen it, I'm a little bit more of a believer in the progression bar, if you like. I don't see where the like bar is as such. I don't know if there is a progression bar, but I think the Academy League is a good first stop on the journey that may or may not become the progression bar.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too, like the price point now to get in. Like I get so often, what do you need to get in? How many dollars do I need to put in? Like nobody that you just randomly talk to goes, hey, how much ETH do I need to get in? No, it's always like dollars, pounds, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like you could legitimately sign up, put on, probably even like 25 pounds over you guys, like $50 here. And if like you have any sort of soccer knowledge, you could look through fixtures, buy 2 limiteds of guys in really good matchups, right? Probably, 0.02 ETH, $50, play them in there, have a really good shot at that 450 because you get I think it's 40% for one of your limiteds. So that guy, gets you 130, 140 points. You just won a tier 2, and we know how liquid that limited market is. And you can just redo that exact strategy the next week and just keep going. So when we talk about like progression bar, I mean, this gives a user legitimately a shot at progressing like $50 into something if they really want to grind into something legitimate. So I think that's the coolest part is that, I have a lot of people from the soccer DFS background that always ask me, they're like, oh, Sorare is too expensive. I just can't get into it. And this is like, dude, you have $50. Like, do you want to do this? $50, you can get in here.
Yeah. I'm totally with you on that. And I think that kind of farm, that kind of grind ability, that was the thing that got me the most excited about it. Was like, that has to be, for the grassroots of the game, people that do have like nominal budgets, if not zero, is, that has to be more than feasible, because just saying, oh, you can just play with commons and then save up. It's not really the same answer as like what you're saying there. Like, can you get 50 quid together for the weekend? And like in the UK especially, like I know tons of people that will bet £10, £20, £30 on a Saturday on football matches and not think about it.
That's gone, right? That's gone if they lose.
Yeah.
Versus this, like you buy a player, and even if let's say that you're brand new and you didn't time the market that well, you can still get 80 cents, 90 cents on the dollar if you just were just playing matchups. Because that's the coolest thing about the academy too, is I'm not playing Quinny. If I'm brand new, I don't have to worry about what Quinny did. I'm literally just trying to hit a score. Yeah. So it no longer matters that, all the OGs, that all of that have Kimmich, Mbappe, Haaland, whatever, Dinder, Pacano, and a goalie. And like, you have no chance in the casual league against that guy if you're still entering it, right? But there's no leaderboard. It's just pure score. So even if, 1 week it goes not great, but you get a star common, okay, well now building that star common into the lineup for next week. I just think I can't think of a better way to like do that academy than the way that they did it. Like, I think it's just awesome.
Yeah. I think the points for it. Oh, sorry, on you go, Sish.
No, I was going to say it's a good point, and also just to add the rule about not being able to enter it if you are entering any other like sort of paid card divisions is massively important for this to work. And yeah, like you said, it allows people to come and grind who maybe didn't want to put any real like amounts of money in just yet. So yeah, I think it's great. I agree.
I think what I was going to say is I think that whole points threshold thing for the reward kind of ties into what Stish was saying. Like it's like, because the progression bar, the way they always kind of explained it was like over a month, you look, if you depending on how well you score or whatever. Whereas I've just simplified it right down and just went on the game week. If you beat 450, you get something. If you beat 400, you get something. If you beat this, you beat that. And just actually thinking about what you just brought up there in terms of like, if you play a paid card league, if you like, you can't enter it. We might actually notice that the amount of cards in like All-Star Limited drops from 10,000 to 3,000 all of a sudden, because like 7,000 of those teams are built on paper. They're just built on guys that are benched and injured and whatever, and people are just throwing a team out because why not? Whereas now they might think twice about, oh well, that team's actually get no chance. But now I might just consolidate down, pick the fixtures like Gator's talking about, and I can just take a bit longer at this little stage I'm at. What do you think?
If you've got a small collection and you and maybe you're like, you look at your fixtures and none of your like limited goalkeepers are playing, then if you've got a common goalkeeper that's playing, then you're probably better off just going into that, throwing a couple of decent limiteds in with the commons that you've got, and doing that rather than entering like All-Star Limited, which from my experience of playing limiteds, it's quite hard to win a card, especially now, because a lot of people do just buy a lot of the sort of the stacks of the popular teams or like the best players. And I'd say like, let's say there's 100 prizes in like one of the limited leagues. Of those top 100 prizes, about 60 of them are people that have got almost the same team, give or take a couple of players. So if you haven't got that team, you may as well just go into the Academy League and see if you can like get over that 400, 450 and like snag a card, and hopefully it'll be better than what you would have won finishing like 600th in the All-Star Limited or something. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see like what effect that has on entries in particularly in All-Star Limited. I think that's where you'll notice it mostly, like you said.
Another thing that's just kind of occurred to me there as you were talking is like, I heard John saying this on his channel, and I've heard actually a few people saying it over the last few weeks, but it's like, oh, I've not got a common Asian defender. Don't really need to have that problem anymore because you can just get unlimited. You know, you're not at the mercy of, oh, I don't have a X midfielder in common or whatever. You can just, that can be unlimited. So then you're like, there's much more opportunity for you to feasibly have a good team there because you can't buy commons, of course, but the cards you can buy, you can deliberately get, again, like Gator's talking about, matching the fixtures and seeing what you've got there. You know, you can get the exact piece to fit what you're missing.
I wonder if they had this in mind, because like when you think about it, if they had this in mind 6 months ago and they knew that this was where they were going to go with it, you know, the way they've sort of phased out commons to sort of like bolster up the rares and stuff. This league allows people to play for free, but it does actually, like, if you want to win cards, I think you're going to need a couple of limiteds realistically, right? If you need to score 400 or 450 to get a card, you're going to need either an absolute balling team of commons, or you're going to need 3 decent commons and 2 limiteds who are likely to score maybe over 70 points or something like that. So this is going to bring more liquidity to that limited market, I think.
Yeah, which it already had a ton of. But I think the biggest key is, like you said, if you want to get a 450, you have to get that 40% multiplier on one of your guys. So you get to do 2 captains. You get a 40% captain and a 20% captain. So like you said, you're going to need to. But again, like I was just like picking up some guys for some limited teams this weekend, and you know, I found like a center back that was in like an amazing matchup, and he was 0.01, right? And I think his like L15 is like 57. So it's not like, again, we're talking about crazy money here. Like somebody can we're not asking them to get in. And I think John brought this up too, or one of his guests did. We don't necessarily want everybody just to get in purely for free, right? We don't want everybody to go, okay, I can go from 0 to 1 million, you know, get a little bit of skin in the game. Like Quinny said, like, you know, target the guy that was going to throw 20 pounds down in the game just because he was going to watch it. And now you go, oh, you can do the exact same thing and watch a random guy from River Plate too. And, you know, a random guy in MLS, just stay up till 2 a.m. It'll be great. You know, but, and guess what? We know that that's actually going to happen too, right? Like how many of us that would never watched J League before, and now we're like, how do I get a J League stream?
Totally.
Man, I watch so much K League. I think I've seen FC Seoul play more than Man United in the recent seasons. But
right, and you never knew you were going to be an Osmar truther, right?
Never. I never knew this. I follow the man now. Like I'm tweeting at him about his injury, trying to figure out when he's going to be back. We need him back. I need him back. I got 2 of him. I definitely need him back.
How have the game weeks been for you over the last week? We've got a midweek on the go and a weekend coming up. Have you had much joy or action there? Without the Osmar?
I've managed to scrape the threshold so far. But I think I only really had one team. I just targeted the All-Star rare just to make sure I was trying to hit those thresholds, because a lot of my good cards were supers, but I didn't have a rare keeper to throw into, like, so I had a good team of like U23, but it lacked a starter goalkeeper. So but I've managed to scrape the threshold, and that was the aim. So yeah, it's a success for me, even though I'm not likely to win any cards. I can see, you know, I've hit the top threshold, 277. Looking at it now.
Nice.
So yeah, I'll take that.
Absolute busted flush for me. I've got maybe a wee chance for unlimited with a Seattle Sounders plus Talis Magno play from the midweek. It's clinging on, but might do okay. What about you, Gator? Anything?
Just a lot of dreams dashed. Had a crazy lineup, and then Tati Castellanos just surprised DMP. And, you know, there's a lot of talk in one of the chats I'm at about, is J League or MLS worse in terms of injury? And PSU fan Sean is adamant that MLS is worse. And I fought him for a while, and I'm about to give up and say that he's right. Because, like, for Castellanos, he's not in the squad either. And then the other team's beat reporter, so not even New York City's, it's Cincinnati's beat reporter, goes, oh, he didn't fly into the game. He's out sick. And it's like, hold on, what? Like, how do we not know that the guy did not make the flight 9 hours ago until 30 minutes before kick? And they're like, oh, well, we didn't put him on the report. He might have been okay. And then we decided to not put him on the plane. Like, I could have my dreams dashed hours ago. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, he was in my U23 Rare Pro, which was kind of done already. It didn't have a starting goalkeeper. I had like the sub keeper for River Plate in there. But yeah, I didn't have any expectations beyond hoping to hit that threshold. And Brenner finally coming good.
Held it.
Absolutely smashed it. It's good to see him.
Did you see what happened? Did you see what happened to him at the end, though?
He could have had 5.
No, I think it was the 4th. It was the 4th goal.
No, but he could have had 5.
Yeah. I mean, he's good at missing, but so he scored. Went crazy, took off his shirt, got the yellow, and then it got VAR'd.
Oh,
to win it 5-4 at the end.
Classic.
He still did he do 100 though, or close to it?
No, I was just looking at his score. He hit his score was 86.1. His
with 3 goals.
Yeah, so it's all around of 6.1. I mean, yeah, I'm just having a look at like his breakdown of his score to see like what he did, if anything. You know, like he's lost 3 points for a yellow card. He's
13
only lost
point swing there for you.
Yeah, he's lost possession 4 times. He's lost 1 duel. He's won possession twice, and 23 accurate passes. He for a man who scored 3 goals and maybe should have had more, he barely touched the ball. Really, like he's not had a great amount of influence in the game. But I think that is quite common with strikers, isn't it? I think we've spoken on here before about anything over 10 on the all around for a forward is pretty good. Like you're happy with that. So, if his all around of 6.1 is probably about average for a forward. But yeah, I've been waiting for him to come good all season. Like pre-season, I was really, my expectations were through the roof for him. I thought this guy's going to be absolutely killer, and he's been in and out of the side. So I kind of threw him in there on the off chance he's had the last couple of games he's scored pretty well. Threw him in. So I think now for a forward like that will do his confidence a world of good. So I'm probably going to make an effort to get eyes on him in the next game. I haven't actually got round to watching him much this season because he's been in and out of the side. But I'd expect him to have cemented that place in the starting lineup for the next few games now. So I should get a chance to get eyes on him, especially with Tati Castellanos, another one of my players. Like that, if we don't know what the situation is there with this injury, if it's just an illness or
it's
maybe
an illness.
Okay,
I think the biggest thing with Tati is he going to get on Quinny's rocking over there a River Plate jersey? Is he going to get that type of move, or are we going to? I feel better now that West Ham got Danjuma that like we can finally cross Tati off of the West Ham list. But now it's still, I think he's like, his rumors are sick. It's like, okay, you can go to Leeds and die, or you can go to River and probably be the best U23 forward in America the rest of the summer. Even go to Brazil and you do that, or stay and you're fine.
Yeah,
but pretty much do anything but go to Europe and you're in great shape.
Yeah, I mean West Ham. I think that in terms of the way West Ham play, he might do all right, but there's always that worry that like we've only watched him in the MLS. Like, is he going to be at that level if he comes over here? Does he even get in? He might get over and then be like, oh, he's not as good as he looked in the MLS. We'll have to stick him on the bench.
Remember Vlasic this last year just killed everybody. Goes from Russia as a world beater and can't even get the pitch in West Ham. So
yeah. I mean, he looks like they're getting rid of him as well, right? I think I've seen lots of Vlasic to move.
You brought up something with Brenner. I'm going to ask you guys a question. I'm going to flip this on the host. So you brought up like exactly what I've always thought with strikers is like your AA sucks. So literally, you play a striker in a lineup, like a Brenner, any of those, outright 9 guys. And if you don't get a decisive, realistically, you're not getting a tier 1. At best, maybe you're drawing to a tier 2, but star tier 1 is out. So I've like slowly started looking through my gallery and trying to sell off like outright 9s and just looking for guys that, are out on the wings that are doing take-ons. Obviously, if they have set pieces, a plus. What are y'all's overall thoughts on that as you're coming into Europe? Like, are you looking at your gallery anything of that way? or just going, look, I have a top number 9 on an awesome team. He's going to score 20 goals this year, and I'll accept the weeks that he gets me 39 to take the weeks that he gets me 70.
I'll let Quinny go first.
My kind of thing with strikers is they're either going to be one or two types of people. They're either going to be somebody that is one of the stars of one of my teams and they're like a real big player, or they're going to be equivalent to the goalkeeper. They've got the equivalent chance of a clean sheet or a goal. If they don't get it, then I know that the team's not going to go anywhere. So depends on what league it is. It kind of depends, because a lot of the success I had early in the platform was Leon Bailey, like you described, a winger, do take-ons, all that kind of stuff. Depay, the same, but on sets, especially at Leon, he was on everything. He was amazing. And then you look at other guys, you've got Immobile, who's just like a goal machine, and then you've got Nabil Fekir, who takes free kicks and is a bit of a goal machine as well. So I think across Europe, as I say, really, it's just about knowing what you're getting for your money. I think it's the big part. I don't think there's any problem with any striker, as long as you know that this guy's only going to score 5 goals a season. And if you're going to try and pick out those 5 goals, then it's going to be a long season, but good luck to you, Obviously, the idea would probably be to get 10 guys that could get 5 goals a season and then try and pick them all out. But so I don't really have any problem with any striker as long as they have a goal threat, if you like. Depends who they are and what they're about for you. What about you, Stish?
Yeah, I'm all about all around. If I can get a forward with good all around, that is for me worth paying a bit more money for, just to have that fallback. If a forward can score a 55, you can still scrape your way into those tier ones. Tier ones most of the time might hit a tier 2, but yeah, they are few and far between in Europe, aren't they? You'll find that a lot of the forwards are in the box on set pieces; they're not taking them. Whereas if I look at my gallery, the ideal, the sort of the model forward is obviously a Cecilia, who takes free kicks and corners and makes a lot of goals and scores a lot of goals. There's not I think Fekir is one of the closest in that model in Europe, that from what I can see. And like Quinny mentioned, Depay was definitely in Lyon as well. But I think that a lot of my purchases are U23 as well, because I kind of focus on that, and that can be quite costly because every player is one move away from being useless, and I'm sweating on a few, to be honest with you. I think I've spoken on this before in terms of defenders as well. I think Tyrell Malacia on his way to Man United, it's going to cost me another challenger / U23 defender to another champ Euro side, so I'm going to end up with another champ defender that I don't need. And in terms of forwards, sorry,
do you think that would be a good move for the cards?
That's awful.
For the cards, do you not think so?
No.
I think
I don't know.
for SO5 for this season, probably not great, because he won't just straight in. They're going to rotate him with Luke Shaw quite a bit, but I do think
Tejas is still there too. I
think he'll go. I think Tejas will be sold this summer. I think Luke Shaw's got a year or 2 left on his contract, so and he's a lot slower than Malacia. I think that if Ten Hag wants to play the way that he did, I think that Malacia is a better option than Luke Shaw. He gets a lot higher up the pitch. Luke Shaw's got a good end product. Half the problem with Luke Shaw is he just doesn't have the stamina. He's not as capable of being like that end to end wing back type player. He's great as a left back. Even I think if you saw the way that Luke Shaw played for England in the Euros, he got forward a bit more. He linked up very well with Jack Grealish when he was on the pitch. So I think that maybe he's just lacked that player in front of him at Man United, where he often plays maybe behind a Rashford, who might be on the or Sancho or Rashford, who maybe not cover him as much when he gets forward. Or I don't know. It's weird when you watch him playing for England. He's a different player to how he plays for United. And obviously he's had his problems. He didn't have a particularly good season last season. So I think that the Malacia purchase is partly to give him a kick up the arse as well, because I think that Luke Shaw will have to prove he's better to keep his place in the side. He doesn't really have that competition with Telles, I don't think. And I think that Malacia will suit a bit more.
I agree completely. But I mean, the last thing we want truly as like SO5 owners, though, is to like, oh, my guy was brought in to give another guy a kick in the ass. It's like, no, no.
Yeah,
I want my guy to be like the move that this team needed to be elite. So, I mean, I feel for
absolutely.
you, man. It just sucks to ever have like the guy that was killing it. And now you're just like, is he going to start? Is
Yeah,
he going to rotate this week? Like it's like almost worse than not having the card sometimes.
I can't
that's
imagine. I can't imagine it being a rotation piece like off the bat. You know, you need a bit of time to acclimatise. But I think if you're Ten Hag and you're bringing this guy in, you're bringing him in to play him. You know, because he's had a few training sessions. I think at this point, really, hasn't he? You know, and I know
I mean,
that
but
De Jong.
didn't they do? And I'm not trying to like poo poo on Mousy. I think this is just like the reality of transfer window. But like the same thing at Man United was with Telles. It was like, okay, he's coming in to supplant Shaw, and then before you know it, it's like a true. It was Shaw was, if I remember it, Shaw was the first choice very often if he was fit, and then it would just be him rotating in. So I just think it's so hard when you have quality depth at a position.
Yeah.
I was reading an article earlier today about Man United's sort of transfer situation, and I think a lot of the players that are bringing in this season seem to be to like sort out the wage bill. The wage bill is absolutely enormous, and like Telles is massively overinflated in terms of wage. So I think that like bringing another left back in to cover Luke Shaw, that is probably going to be on a quarter of what Telles is being paid per week as well, is another part of it because it will free up more transfer money come January if we are competing for Europe. If we can like lighten that wage bill, so there's him. I think Dean Henderson moving to Nottingham Forest. I'm not 100% sure what his deal is in terms of like who's covering his wage, but he gets paid more money than Edison. He gets paid more money than Allison, and he's our sub goalkeeper. Like
What?
David De Gea earns more than double what both of those keepers make. Like we have big problems in our squad with wages, and I think that a lot of these moves now will be looking at next season. Where's our wage bill going to be? Because like even people like Phil Jones is on a huge wage. He's
Oh
got
my
one
God,
season
yeah.
left. So if we don't get rid of him now, which is going to be hard, he barely plays. Who would want him at the moment? We've got another year of him. We've got another year with Rashford and obviously Ronaldo. So I think Ten Hag is going to be making some shrewd moves, more necessarily just to like make more cover options so that we can get some of these huge earners off of the wage bill. And I think Telles is still, he's useful for a lot of clubs. He is a good player, but if you look at our wage bill, and a player that I think is going to do really well under that is Diogo Dalot. I think Diogo Dalot
Yeah,
suits
I
Ten
like that a
Hag
lot.
massively. And his wage is like right down there with the bottom earners, and he's got 5-year contract. And I think they're going to be looking at who else can we bring in. There's talk of Anthony coming in, obviously, and he'll be massively under earning in terms of like comparison to players like Sancho. And I mean, I think Sancho will stay. Like if they can get the best out of him, he'll be a completely different player next season. So I'm excited as a United fan, but I am very hesitant to get too excited because I think Ten Hag is going to need at least 3 seasons to rebuild. And I think that bringing that wage bill is going to be a massive part of the money that is available to him this time in January or the end of this season, next season. Hopefully, and that's another thing as well. Champions League football, you need that as well because you get that extra money that comes in, you attract bigger players, and then, you offload a few more players. You can justify spending more this time next season if we're in the Champions League. So it is a tough job. But yeah, back to the point of Malacia, like I said, SO5, I have too many champ defenders. I don't need another one. And I definitely don't need to put one in that might not start. I've got a lot of starters there. So that was gutting because he was a great U23 challenger option. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I've
We're
got
recording this on the 30th of June as well. So the
yeah.
U23 purge or the exodus, I feel like, is like tomorrow or whatever. I don't know. I'm losing my mind with the
Yeah,
calendar. Are you prepared? Are you caring? What's going on? Are you Gator on U23s? You're a big U23 guy, are you?
I got teased into it for a little bit, and then like immediately that's how Tatsy came to be, and then immediately you get like that kick in the nuts, and you're like, oh, this is why everybody loves and hates U23 so much.
Love the rewards, hate the style of transfer situation. But yeah, it's do you know what I think? Like, I feel like I'm prepared. I'm pretty sure I've got lots of cover at U23. It'll be interesting to see when those lineups start getting made. You know, like there's only so much you can do on like your lineup builder. You know, once those U23 like red crosses start to pop up. But I think that I think I'm good in the forwards situation, at least while the MLS is on. I've got Ferreira, I've got Castellanos, who's got one season left at U23. In terms of challenger, I've got Larson at Groningen, but there's talk of him moving to a champ side as well. So not sure what's going to go on there. You know, I've got Chiesa. No, Chiesa's not U23. He finished last year actually. So yeah, I think is Leon Bailey. You mentioned Leon Bailey as another one. He's another one that I've got that I just sat on, hoping that he'd do better than he did, and I was kind of hoping that he might get a little move because he was great at Leverkusen, but he's not been. You know, he's struggled with injuries at Aston Villa, so I think my forward situation's okay. Midfield's great. Got Veerman there. Got a lot of good midfielders. Waiting for Szymanski to get that move as well. Hoping that'll be a good move for him because he's been a great card. But I don't think he is willing to play in Russia at all next season. So if he doesn't get a move soon, I don't know what's going to come of him. I saw what happened with his international teammate Rebus, who moved from Lokomotiv to Spartak, has pretty much been ousted from the national side. You know, they've qualified for the World Cup and Szymanski's right on the fringe of that squad. I don't think he's going to take any chance in not going to the World Cup. So he needs that move, and I need it for SO5 as well. I could do with him moving to a side who's going to get some games in. What about you, Quinny? What's your U23 situation saying?
I've kind of retracted away from Super Rare U23 over the last month or so. And I'm kind of in a funny position with my U23s where I've got enough to go for pro, rare, and now certainly limited pretty well when Europe's back on. But I don't think any of my guys are really that transfer dangerous, but I've definitely got a few of them that, might get rotated or might get a wee injury or, might not start the season hot maybe. So I don't really know. I think my expectations on how well some of my cards might do are a wee bit lower. But I think with the amount of cards that are disappearing and blah, 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 all the other stuff that, we're all kind of talking about with the changes of come August as well, changing the goalkeepers, the platform developments, whatever. I think U23 might become actually might be a bit of a narrower field, because there's just less availability of cards, less availability of teams next season, it feels.
Yeah.
So even having maybe B-listers might be workable all of a sudden.
Yeah.
If you know the fixture.
That's the thing with U23 as well, is there's always
I think
that someone comes through that we didn't see last season. And hopefully there'll be some new, that'll shake up the market a bit.
And Stitch, that literally was exactly what I was thinking, is I remember the first weekend of U23 last year, it was 3 or 4 U23 goalkeepers that people didn't see. Nuruddin started for how do you say it? Upin?
Upin, yeah.
Is that right? We weren't 100% sure that Costa was going to be starting for Porto. He had started a few friendlies, but I remember almost buying him, and everybody in chat's no. That was just to get him experience. It's still Marcusine. And then all of a sudden, it's over, right? He starts the first game and it's done. So I still think, while I don't think it's dead. If you haven't fully prepared your teams, you can very much just go into it and see what the lineups are shaking out during the final friendlies. When you see every number one on the team and you're oh, he's starting at goalkeeper, or oh, he's starting at midfield and taking sets. I know a guy that we were all pumped about last year when he got the move to Gent was Tresor. And he started out crazy amazing and started their cup game, and then he fell out of favor. But a guy like that, if we all of a sudden you see him starting the last final games, I mean, there's just going to be all sorts of guys that aren't on the radar, that aren't on the top 20 of Sorare data, player ranking page, that are going to be by the end of the year top 10 guys. You can guarantee that it's going to just reward the people that are doing a little bit of work, that are paying attention early. So I don't know about you. It sounds like you guys have some preparation, but I'm not just U23, but even, some of my other Euro positions, I'm kind of in like wait and see approach. And like, I'm going to let a little bit more clarity happen.
I'd say that's the thing. There's definitely a lot of speculation going on at the moment in the U23 market in terms of like who might, especially in the goalkeeper market, like you say, like any goalkeeper you can pick up now for less than 0.7, if they start the first game of the season as a U23 goalkeeper, you can double it. Like it's going to be insane. Those first couple of weeks are like make or break for a lot of U23 keepers. I think that I had a limited of Philip Cohn at Salzburg.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the situation there between him and Nico Mantle is going to be interesting. But I think that Cohn might be carrying an injury still as well. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if Mantle starts the season as number one anyway, because I don't think Philip Cohn is going to be fit from what I can see. I've been following. They had a fixture yesterday, a friendly, and he wasn't in the squad at all. And Mantle started there, and he finished the season really well as well. So I don't think they're going to rush Philip Cohn in, even if they do have him down as their number one. And that is probably going to, the reaction to something like that happening on the market could be a little bit overkill, especially for a Salzburg. We've spoken about them before being like the stackers' big favourites, because you can pick up like a Sole, Woba, and Mantle. You could pick up a whole U23 stack from Salzburg. And I think that that's being priced into a lot of their prices at the minute. They're insane, like how expensive a lot of those cards are. But have any of you got any players in particular that you think like are going to have a real breakout year this year from what you saw like at the end of last season?
What I'm hoping to do this year, right, is my first kind of season on the platform of experiencing this, right? It was a guy called, well, I think we all know his name, but his name's Dorsch, right?
Yeah.
When he first like broke onto the scene, everyone was like, who the hell is this guy? And he was like on loan or just been released from like Bayern Munich 2 or something like that. And then last season, obviously, it was Vinicius Souza, and it was like, who the hell is this guy? And it's like, oh, he's on loan from a Division 2 team, like a pure random. So I'm very much this season, I'm looking at Belgium and I'm looking at random people that have no background or no nothing, and just thinking, how random are you? Do you feel like you could, are you an under 15 international or something like that, or did you just transfer in on a dodgy visa to Division 2 Belgium or whatever?
But Quinny, within that though, I think again, like back to like the start of the season, like if you see that random guy that you have no idea who it is, and all of a sudden you're looking and he's taking set pieces, like you just need to jump on that type of guy. Like we know that, we talked about all around earlier. We know sets are always going to lead to the best all around. So if we see that random guy, like I think sometimes in the past, especially in Europe, I've made the mistake of going, okay, I just need to see one more game of him. But if the price point is right, we can see these guys just like take off. So like a random guy, not U23, but that like really changed my path on the platform and has got me to like where I've had a really awesome summer. But you guys probably know a guy named Teddy Tuma.
Yeah.
From USG. Yeah, see, Quinny, there we go. We're a random guy, but took most of the set pieces for USG. And the only reason I got on him was I was like trying to plan thresholds out for like the international break. And I'm like, oh, this guy plays for Malta. Yes. Okay. I'm like, oh, he's going to play for Malta. And he he's getting like 50s and 60s for USG. And I think at the time he was like 0.075. I mean, I ended up selling him after like shortly, like a little bit further along in the season, but for like 0.5 something. I've now bought him back because I missed him so much for cheaper. Like during the dip, I brought him back in. But you have a random guy like that, and that was a promotion side, right? So we didn't really have much data on him, and it was a center midfielder that was very active in tackling, very active in duels, that also took set pieces. And I'm just like, okay. I got to him a weird way because I was attracted to his Malta national team stellarness. But like there's going to be guys like that. That's why, I think it's so funny. Like I'll like scroll through Twitter and see everybody go like, I've got to get them my challenger midfielder right now. Like, it has to be this week. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Like, relax. There's going to be all sorts of guys pop up, get a holder for the first week and then see the situations that pop up. And you might be able to walk into your Teddy Tuma or whatever random, your Vinny Souza, all those type of guys.
I think talking there about like a player that you let go and then bought him back because you missed, and like I let one of my earliest purchases on the platform was Luca Oyen for Genk, and I let him go as part of a deal for another card. I can't remember who it was, but I remember that like the value that we had sold that card at in as part of the swap was that he was worth like 0.15, which at the time was like more than he was worth. But I knew that he wasn't getting in the side, and I've had it in the back of my head to like make sure I pick that up like once I get some more Eve. Didn't do it. He broke into the side at the end of last season. Like, is he 18 or 19 years old at Genk? Mm-hmm. He's being tipped as like the next Eden Hazard, and he is really good. He's like, good dribbler of the ball, gets assists, has got a goal in him, very creative. And
better buy him right now before this gets released.
Man, his price is just way too high. I'm pretty sure I bid on if I go into like my new card auctions, there is one on the market, and I bid on him. Oh, it's ending. It's ending in 49 minutes, and he's at 0.4045, which in cash terms might not be a million miles away from what I sold him for. So I'll put a little bid in there. Let's see if
get that credit card out.
Yeah, I need to. I've got an ETH balance, which is slowly depleted by all of my like knee-jerk reactions to the market in the last few days. I picked up a Kamil Piakowski, who I'd had my eyes on for ages, and like all of the talk of Sole leaving potentially put his price massively up, and I hit go on that one in the end. So I've got him now. I saw that Harry Trades beat me to a Connor Barron super rare this morning.
Oh, did he?
That's normally a good sign that you were on the right type of guy if Harry's in on him.
Yeah, I'm gutted that I missed the end of that. I mean, it went for 0.9, which is a little bit more than I expected it to. Maybe he's not quite as under the radar as I thought he was, but there was quite a lot of bids in there. I saw a few. I think PSU fans was in the bidding on that one as well. So
good company again.
Yeah, those guys tend to know what they're doing. But yeah,
so
Luke Boyan, looking out for him next season, definitely.
So you brought up Soleil, and not to take a little run at Nellis here, but it happens. But did you all see Spurs' new signing a couple hours ago?
I did. I've just forgotten who it is. But
did they get Longley?
No, they got Richarlison too.
Gone through.
So good. Back to Nellis. Like, I think we just need to avoid some of his guys. Like, he's like cursed this summer because I'm assuming you spend 50 million on Richarlison. That means that they don't rate, or they're not going to be starting Kuleveski, right? Like, that's not a good sign. You're not spending 50 million.
They've got a lot of players in that kind of position because they've got like
Kane, Son, Richarlison,
it has to be Richarlison. I mean, I'm assuming again, but 50 million for Spurs, like, that's a ton for them.
Oh, yeah.
And again, like, or somewhat the cross back to Malacia, right? United, like you mentioned, was a great point, like with the wages, and there's a little bit more into it. But Spurs are on a much different budget than United is. So like, they're the type of club that if they're going to put 50 million towards a guy, it's not to, like, in my opinion, it's not to slowly break them in. It's Conte has a specific plan for that type of player. And it just sucks. Like, I thought Kuleveski, personally, I thought he was awesome to end last season, and thought he was like a shoo-in for that starting spot. I saw this morning. I'm like, oh my God. And literally I think from going, oh my goodness, from a football term, I'm like, God, Nellis, can I catch a break? That was like my next thought, like right after I saw that.
So what kind of shape has Conte been playing? He's been playing free at the back, yeah?
I think Conte always plays straight at the back. Conte always 3-4-3, no matter where he goes.
Yeah, there's no space for it. I was just checking.
I can't see it. Yeah, I think like this must just be like bloating out the team a little bit because they've got Champions League to compete for. Well, obviously seeing what's above them, Man City and Liverpool, which have arguably two of the best squads in world football. If you're going to get anywhere close to them, you need excess of players, and they've got that stadium now. Is Kulusevski was he a permanent deal or was he a loan? Is he?
It was loan, but I think it was like with a buy option or obligation, something along those lines. Like he wasn't going back to Juve.
Yeah, that's what
because they've got a bunch of players they need.
Well, Bergwijn's gone now. He's definitely going to Ajax. If that's the case.
Ndombele is not being like they're not picking the option up.
Lyon. I thought he's back to Lyon.
I don't think
he got loaned.
I was speaking to Jeremy, who does a French podcast as well, and he was saying Ndombele is like back in Tottenham, but I think Lyon maybe have like an option to exercise, but there's no like any noises of anything. It's just nobody's talking.
That's what I heard as well. That I don't think they fancied him at the sort of level of wage that they would need to keep him on. He didn't do enough in the season.
What Jeremy said was they're maybe waiting for that contract thing to expire, and then they're going to go back to Tottenham and go, we'll give you $5 million.
Hold on. So that's like the same as, when we see Quinny sees a card on the market he sees that they 0.4, and he just, I'll pay you 0.35. No, that's not enough. Wait a day. That 0.35 is still there, guy.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's Leon's tactics now.
Man, I hear that. We were talking a little bit off air before we hit record about the specialist, and I think now we got Gator on to like get into that a little bit. Did you want to sort of like bring up that same conversation we were having before we started to hit record on the specialist particularly?
Yeah, so my win this past weekend was underdog, which is the same line, right? Same ideas, but it was the underdog rare. Just the most weird group of players you'll ever see together. But that tournament now I think that's the 5th time they've run it, and first place has been insane. It was an Mbappe, I think the first time. Laird had pulled it for me. It was Mbappe, Holland, Gavi, Van der Voort. And I should have practiced this more, Quinny. You're going to fix it. Mijan?
That'll do it. Mignon?
Close? Mignon. I cannot say it right. And then I got Mike Mignon, who did not stay in my gallery long. He was.
I prefer Magic Mike. Magic Mike always works.
That's so much easier. But I think what's happening. I almost don't want to say this too loud to get people's attention on it, but I do think that the specialists for a lot of people is an afterthought because we've just been so trained for a really long time that, all right, we're going to gas 3 first, then we're going to, regional, D3. It's easier for me to say D3, but regional D3, and now we're going to go to our D4, or if you're super rare, maybe you're down to D2. Like you have your priorities. Like you guys have both done, we've all been on the platform long enough. Like we know the exact like order that we set our lineups in. Like my favorite players are going to go in this lineup. Then it's going to be this. Then it's this. And then it's like, oh, okay, I have an extra goalkeeper. Let me see. Oh, the specialist is open or underdog is open. And then we try to put together a team there. And this past weekend, I looked at the underdog and I saw, I think it was 5 stars. I think it was 5 or 6 star rares. And then you looked at the top of the prize pool for it, and it was Mbappe, Kimmich, Messi, Neymar, and you're just like, oh my God, like all the biggest guys are in this prize pool. Now, are they going to give it out? Who knows? But like they're there. And it doesn't say 0 left. It says there's a card that they have allocated here. So I didn't like all of a sudden go take my best possible players there, but I started prioritizing it. Like I did my D3, my D3s, and then I went to underdog and I saw so my lineup was it's very America based as the American on the pod, but it was Jordan Morris was from the Sounders, who had a really, really awesome matchup, and he was under 50. So I'm like, okay, there's forward. I didn't want to keep Bryce Duke. I almost bought a replacement, but he's a young kid from Inter Miami, used to be on LAFC, but takes their set pieces. So, and they were home from Minnesota. Miami's been playing better. So I'm like, okay, let me give him a go. But I was actively trying to replace him. I'm not going to pretend to. And I lucked. I mean, he hit the highest score he's ever hit on the platform at 86. And then I bought Sebastian Blanco specifically for this. He was only like 0.09. And literally how I figured this, I've talked with like Laird and Black before on that, but sometimes like, so I come from a DFS background, was where, I've played DFS soccer now for 4 or 5 years. And in DFS, it's like, when you wager, if you screw up, you lost the money. It's not like you get anything back. Like, if you're not the part of the top 20% on a tournament, you don't get anything back. It's just a loss. And so sometimes on Sorare, I'll go, okay, if I can like make this team infinitely better this week that I think is really good, but I've got one really bad piece that I think could totally wreck the lineup, then I'll go, okay, well, can I get a better piece? These cards hold value. So like for Blanco, I got for 0.09. I'm like, shoot, even if I can sell him tomorrow for 0.08 and probably within like an hour will get swooped up as a misprice. So maybe my entry in my head, I go, my entry fee to this free tournament is 0.01 or whatever that difference is. So I bought him specifically for that. Boca had come out and said, Boca literally released their team a day and a half before lock and said, we're not playing any starters. Here's our entire team. I'm like, okay, cool. There's a center back for 0.03 on a minus 200 favorite. And then I had whatever leftover goalkeeper I had and put it all together. And 4 ETH later, I'm very, very, very happy proponent of the underdog league.
Amazing.
So you sold the mic. Magic Mike has been sold.
It took an hour and a half. It was like a guy that literally has been on the platform for a month, and he sends me an offer for like 3.75, which I think was like the highest or close to the highest it had been on. And I looked at his gallery, and he had like in the last 2 days bought all these expensive Milan pieces. I'm like, no, you're paying a premium, buddy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And he sent 4 ETH, and I just like stared at it for a while and was like, I kind of want to stare at my JPEG for longer, that I just want weekend. And I'm just like, I think it was either Laird or Sean DMs me. They're like, if you don't take that deal, you're the biggest idiot. I don't have the Europe champion gallery to support a 4 ETH goalkeeper. So
yeah, I hear that. That's an amazing result. I need to look at underdog rare when it pops up next time.
It doesn't pop up very much, but I mean, it's under 50. I mean, I think, again, not to like try like the cat out of the bag, so to speak, too much, but I do think that so often on Sorare, where I think I've seen like an inefficiency on the platform, is like I'll see killer lineups that are like rare goalkeeper, rare defender, rare mid, rare forward, and they didn't have one more, and they'll play like a common.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're a 20 ETH gallery or you're a 30 ETH gallery playing a common. Like,
I'm that guy. I'm not quite a 20, not quite maybe at that level. I don't know. Actually, my gallery might be worth a fair bit more than that. But like, I do that. I'm
you'll see it.
Buying a keeper. But sometimes I do. I've definitely got a few keepers that I bought like that, where I'm like, oh, I'll get rid of him next week, and then just don't.
So let me caveat this. I think keeper common, I would never make that comment on, because keepers are so expensive.
Yeah.
And like, we know that you're like one benching away from the keeper that was like 0.8 being like 0.3, and you're trying to offload him, and there's 92 other. The guy has 110 mints, and 92 of them are on the market. That's a terrible place to be. So I'm good with keeper, but like I'll see people do it with like a mid, and it's like you could match. I mean, like like I just said, I got Seb Blanco for this tournament, who was a minus 120 favorite. I'm a big MLS follower, so Portland has a crazy home field advantage. Like It's one of the top atmospheres. Like Portland at home, like you don't mess with. So, and he was back to taking all their set pieces. Like he's a former MLS tournament MVP like a year and a half ago, just had an injury. So I'm like, for this price, like I'm definitely, taking a run at him. And again, I just didn't see the risk exposure being that big.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And like you said, especially with the underdog, you can pick up a bargain. Maybe if like, I think for me, sometimes I'm just like, oh, if I buy that player, I'm not going to be able to get rid of them. But if you do buy some decent quality goalkeeper or player that you know you can sell the next week, then like you said, if your cost of entry is like 0.01, you're talking about like a $10 bet on potentially winning a 4 ETH card. That's like well worth the risk and reward.
And let's like not even say 4 ETH card, right? Like the underdog this week paid out like 32 rares, and I think it was like another 20 of them were tier 1s. It's like, even if you're not, of course we all want to win, but even if it's a tier 1 card worth 0.4, 0.5, and like you said, my cost of entry, like, so like the Boca guy I bought was 0.035 ETH.
Nice.
And he literally sold an hour after lock for 0.04. So I actually, like, as soon as they, like, or not an hour after lock, like a couple hours, but as soon as like the Boca lineup showed up on Sorare data, he just instantly sells.
Even just looking now at the rewards that did go out, so like 35 rewards in total on the underdog rare, and the worst card, or like the last place card, was Sammy Bossert, which is a 0.35.
That's crazy.
It's a lot, right? And Luca Net's just above that, 0.283. But Luca Net's is a good like prospect for the future. German defender. He's on my watch list, so I know who that is. But yeah, I mean, like the cards are good. There's good prizes there. Even like Hakan Kalinoglu was the second place. Patrick Schick third. Gonçalo Inacio fourth, which is an amazing card as well. Benjamin Sesko if you finished fifth. Nice. Like Leonard Moser if you finished eighth.
For those that can't see, Stish's face right here is like completely disturbed. He's just like, I didn't play this.
I'm actually kicking myself because I definitely could have fielded a side, and I'm pretty sure I didn't enter one. And if I did, it was probably just like, the dregs that's left over, and like they're not going to play. Just stick one in there. But I probably could have done that. I probably had like the bones of a good lineup there, but just it wasn't something I looked at. And I guess this is the beauty of taking the time to look at the prize pool ahead of the game week and optimizing your team to hopefully hit in like the pool that you're aiming for. Definitely.
Whitney, how about you? Have you entered specialist or underdog for whether he's been limited that much?
Specialist limited is like my number one limited team. That I won't play. If I can only play one limited team, it'll be in specialist kind of idea. And I'll go. I was actually doing. Like, I've been doing some content on like my other channel, the Sorare TV one. And what I kind of started off doing was like getting like the L15 under 40 guys for the specialist, because the underdog criteria is like way harsher there. And basically now I've got to the point. I think I've won a couple of crap rewards, nothing amazing, But I've kind of got myself to the point now where I've got a little kind of stable of like underdog-ish cards, and now like doing exactly what we're talking about in terms of headhunting a guy to fill in a spot is now like feasible for me, because before it's like, and this is the problem I have with the rare ones sometimes, it's like I've only got 2 cards. I'm not going to go I'm not going to go fill a team, depending on the way the fixtures have panned out, because sometimes the underdog has came out in the midweek. I've seen that, I'm sure, happen before. So I've just not really been able to really capitalize on really any of the rare ones. But because the limiteds to this point have been every week, I go into the weekend game weeks, like I'll pick the specialist first, and then now I'm getting to the point where I picked up a Marcinowski this week because he is a proper underdog limited goalkeeper, and I got that for like 80 quid, so I don't mind doing that, because then I've got a full outfield that's ready to rock, really. So
very quick, but in there on Marcinowski, you say he was a proper underdog keeper. Is that just for this week, or is he a keeper that you've bought with the expectation that he will always kind of like sit around that level in terms of score?
Yeah, I don't think he's got L15 over 50 really in him. Like if you look at, San Jose in general and whatever, like I don't see him ever going on a tear in his L15. Yeah. So then now it's like around the 48 mark or something like that. And he's got a 70 in his L5. They've got a good fixture this week against Chicago, which is why I picked him specifically. But, he's not an elite keeper that's, I don't think, going to run away and get lots of deep greens and kill his L15, so... I do expect the odd time he maybe just breaks it or something like that. Maybe hits 51, 53 or something for a week or two maybe. But He's not a guy
So
I'd expect to run away.
So on that question, I've had I don't know his name. I just call him Mustache Man, but because he has an awesome mustache. But I have the old game. I don't even know it's from Korea. Like Sid, I don't know. The team are all black. He's really not good.
Seongnam, the older Kim. Is it
But
Kim?
I've got to use. Yeah, it's something like that. Yes, but he has the mustache. That's what I know him as. Is he's the mustache guy to me. But I've
Kim
had him now for.
That's him.
There you
Kim,
go.
Yep, nice
So
tag.
my only 2 rewards last weekend were, and I have a decent gallery. I think my gallery right now, and it's just almost all America. So like this is my time. It's like 30 ETH right now, which is crazy because
Nice.
I did not put nearly that in. But my only 2 rewards this past weekend were Underdog, and then Specialist Limited. I want to rare in too because of him. He was my under 40 goalkeeper, and he got a shutout, probably his first shutout in like a year versus Olsen. But to Quinny's point, like you were asking him about, are you keeping him for that reason? I bought him just for that reason for a couple weeks ago, but because he's been so bad for so long, he's been under 40 keeper for like 3 or 4 weeks. So and I think I picked him up during break for 0.035 or 0.04, something like that.
Nice.
And so like if you can find those type of guys too with their L15s where there's like you can just see a run on L15s of like 30s and 20s, like you're going to have them for a little bit of time in these type of tournaments, especially goalie. If you can get a L40 goal, under 40 goalie, like you're golden.
It's a good shout, especially if they play for a team that does have the odd clean sheet in them as well. So, you
you only really odd clean sheet for them.
yeah, especially Seongnam. Yeah, they're not the greatest side. I got a couple of their players that are doing okay, but yeah, I mean I watched them a few times this season, and like I think they're better than their results suggest. Sometimes they're just not very good at the back, unfortunately. Their defense is like a crumbling wreck most of the time, but they've got some pretty good options going forward actually. And so if they do go down, I'll be surprised if some of the other sides in the K League don't pick up a couple of their forwards and their attacking midfielders, because going forward they're not bad. They're just horrendous at the back, which is why he probably doesn't get many clean sheets.
Why their goalie's under 40 for a really long time.
Yeah. That's exactly. The apex piece is the goalkeeper that's under 40, those are so hard because when you're playing, like I had a guy for ages, Axel Werner, who was always under 40 and then he get dropped because he was always under 40, so there's definitely a kind of balance to be struck. But the Marcinowski's under 50, so he's like underdog, not specialist underdog, if that makes sense.
Underdog, okay, yeah. So but he was, I had him for specialist a couple weeks ago versus Nashville because he was under 40 too. And they, like you had said, like they're starting to play better now that they got rid of their manager.
Well, let's hope he gets back under 40. That'd be brilliant. Maybe his price will go up as well.
Quinny, that means you need like an error led to goal though, so he's going to wreck one of your weeks to get back under or something.
Yeah, maybe actually. But he's an underdog, so how bad can it go?
In terms of the specialist, Quinny, do you always use the L4, the under 40s? Do you tend to try and make sure that one of those is the goalkeeper? Is that like a tactic?
That's like the optimal move, but it's really hard to do sometimes, and sometimes there's only one guy and it'll be priced in.
Exactly what you just said. So like this past weekend was Montreal's keeper, Breza, was I think he was 1 or 2 of the only under 40 guys. And he started out, if you like had planned ahead, he was like a 0.09 type of goalkeeper, and by the time the game week locked, people were paying 1.4, 1.5.
Yeah,
or I'm sorry, 0.15. Yeah, but like again, 30-40% appreciation.
Easy.
I tell you what, before we close out, that's a good point you make there, because another thing that they did announce was these special weeklies that are going to be like the special threeklies for over 32-year-old players. And so that is going to get really interesting when you've got those L40s that are all over 32 but play every game. Their price is going to go to the moon. It's going to be, if you've got Maxi Morales that week, then you could.
So question for you guys on that. I know we have to, but are you, when you saw that, are you guys going to prioritize, because they did say that the rewards are going to be DNP guys?
if I've got a team, I'm entering it. But yeah,
Okay.
I might have a look at the prize pool before. If the DMP guys are young, then great. If they're not, then probably not. You know, you don't. That's what use is that over 32 DMP? Like realistically,
That would be really crazy though, right? You get like I don't know, like just the first one that came up my head was Chiesa. So how did you win your Chiesa? Oh, it was this special old guy tournament, and they rewarded one of the best young players in the world.
Yeah,
It'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting to have a look. But yeah, I had a little look at like what over 32s I've got, and I've got some good options, but not many. Not many in limited, not many like really good limited over 32s. You know, like players like you want your Osmar back from injury for that week. And
see if this division is a success. Eventually, we'll have the day where it'll be like, oh, I'm definitely buying Neymar this year because he's 32 next year. You know, I can't wait to get Neymar into my team. You know, he's 32 qualified. Here we go.
Yeah. Hey, you can burn your Messi in there right now.
Yeah,
put your Messi in. Whatever the old man, Messi is the cheat card for the old man division.
Yeah, Messi, Tony Kroos, Osmar. Who else we got in there? Naboa in the Russian league is a cheat code. He's a crazy scorer, like 67 average or something like that over the last 15.
Sure.
Stish, you've got the old man tournament won already.
I know, man. I'm in there. I'm not letting go of any of my oldies. I'm gonna be the veteran champ.
But I do think it'll be really interesting though on that. Like I saw a lot of people contemplating though if this is Sorare trying out the whole DNP thing. Remember they leaked the interface leaked that extra tier of rewards like a month or two ago. It made its rounds, but it was like tier 4.
Yeah,
reward.
I saw that. Yeah.
And remember, and then they go, "Oh no, that was just a mistake with the interface." But it will be interesting if this is them trying out, like if they're going to get any pushback from people that are like, I just won old man division and my reward was a 39-year-old that retired. Like, because that will blow back on Sorare really badly. Or if people are going to be genuinely excited to win a DNP guy. Like that, I think that'll be, in a way, is them testing it out.
I think with this being a new prize pool, sorry, let's just cut you, but I think with this being a new prize pool, they'll all be like picked, you know, who the DNP reward pool will be. So
yeah, I'd agree. And I think as well, like if it means that they make a bigger prize pool as well, like by adding those DMPs to the end of like the tier 3s, if there is a tier 4 and the tier 4 is all DMP cards, you'd rather win one of them than not win anything, right? Surely.
So that's what we hope, right? But I think that Sorare is being honest. Like we all say that, right? But how many times have like you guys seen somebody complain because their tier 2 was injured and he wasn't out of the pool, right? And it sucks. Like I feel for those people, and it's bad luck. But at the same time, it's a freak. I really do think that this is them testing out what the reaction is going to be on these DMP rewards. Are people going to be genuinely excited, or are people just going to be like trashing them?
Yeah,
good point.
Bad luck's better than no luck. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Gator, thanks a lot for filling in for us. It's been an absolutely great episode. Thanks a lot, man. And Stish, good luck this game week, buddy, as well.
And good luck on your concerts too.
Yeah, I probably need I need more luck in the game week. I think I'm quite confident that we'll have a good one.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me, guys.
Take care.
Cheers.